back, everyone, to the Suit Yourself Podcast, part of the Finish First Media Network team. My name's Austin, co-host number 1, joined tonight by co-host number 2,
Brandon Alessio.
We'd like to thank everybody for jumping back in with us. Do apologize for missing an episode last week. We had some schedule difficulties that came up at the last minute, so we were unable to get our second podcast out. So all 10 of you really missed out, and we apologize for that. We will do better moving forward. Today we're going to start going over some injuries, followed by the breakdown of the Week 5 action, and maybe our Bills fan Brandon's thoughts on the Bills game that is ongoing at this moment.
It sucks.
We're going to skip the standard Brandon question today for the sake of time. We are in a little bit of a time crunch, so we'll be going a little quicker than normal. We are still going to start out today with the injuries of the week. We'll start with some of the more notable ones here. Let me get to the top of our list here. There are a lot of injuries every single week, like always, unfortunately. Start out with the big one of the week, and that's going to be Dak Prescott. Messed that ankle up pretty bad. Out for the season. I believe it was a dislocation and a fracture, so not something that you want to see happen. So he's going to be out the rest of the year. He should be good for next year from everything I'm hearing. Next guy we have is Deontay Johnson. He left early with a concussion in week 3. COVID cost him week 4. And he has a back injury for week 5. So he's had a little bit of an interesting time getting back on the field, you could say, as of late. So hoping he's going to be back for next week. I believe Mike Tomlin was mentioning that he didn't think it was going to be super bad. So hopefully he will be on the field sooner rather than later here. Next, Kyle Allen. I didn't even know Kyle Allen was playing, but he was starting for Washington this week. He was out with an arm/shoulder injury. So we're not exactly sure when he's going to be back. I think he has a shot at returning in week 6, however. Sammy Watkins is the next injury that we have. He strained his hamstring, and I believe he's going to be out potentially a couple weeks. Hamstrings are obviously a little bit all over the place. They usually nag even if they come back, so maybe he'll give us the A.J. Green special of going out there and being a decoy. Speaking of A.J. Green, he is also injured this week.
Who cares?
I believe
What's he gonna do?
He has a hamstring strain as well.
He'll do the exact same things he did last week when he played.
Doesn't really matter, but he's a guy. So we have Russell Gage. He's on the injury report with a shoulder. Looks like he will play, though, so not much to add to that. DJ Chark left the game late with an ankle injury. We're not entirely sure on his status. Again, today is only Tuesday, so we'll have some more info on that later on. Dalvin Cook did leave the game with a groin injury, I believe a groin strain. Apparently, people are cautiously optimistic he might be able to play this week, but I would not be surprised if this is a multi-week injury.
I heard they're shutting him down. They have the bye week the following week, so they're going to try to get him out there then.
Yeah,
so
that would make sense.
As someone who's been rostering Alexander Madison, this bye has come at the worst time possible.
Yeah, that's not such a bad strategy.
Might get 1 week out of Alexander.
For the record, he would be probably one of the top pickups for this week with Fab, I guess, if you really needed a running back.
And I mean, there's always those stats where, like, if you hurt your leg and you play through it, you're so much more likely. I think you're like 6 times as likely to re-injure yourself. So even rostering Madison, I mean, I'm not wishing bad on Cook, but since he has an injury and if he does try to play through it, he's way more susceptible to getting hurt again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would probably wager in 10-team or better leagues. He's probably held on most teams or rostered.
Yeah.
But just in case he's not.
So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is just because he might seem like a 1 week rental, he might not be. Like there's a very high possibility that he won't be.
That is a good point. Couple injury updates.
Ooh. Okay.
Injury updates. First one, Noah Fant. It does not look like he will return for week 6. He technically missed week 5. So just it looks like he's going to remain out. Looks like Sam Darnold will not be playing again. I'm not entirely sure. We might be seeing Joe Flacco again. That's something that's a little bit TBD at this point. Not that anybody cares.
We forgot to mention that Zach Moss got ruled out today. And as somebody whose sorry team was stuck starting Zach Moss, and he got ruled out today, which means I had nobody to replace him with.
Maybe you shouldn't have started him in the case that he was ruled out.
I had 7 players out this week. And yeah, so then I had to, it was either him or Alexander Madison, which in hindsight, I definitely should have started him.
You probably should have.
Yeah, and then
you should have known Dalvin Cook would get injured.
Yeah, and I should have known that he was going to get hurt on a Tuesday. on like non-contract drills or whatever it was. I don't even know.
You just hate to see it.
It's so stupid.
We're going to go ahead and jump into the first game of the week.
What about the breaking news we just heard?
Okay, I was not aware we had just heard breaking news, but
LeVeon Bell. He got
that's
released
right.
by the Jets.
He's so irrelevant anymore. Forgot that was breaking news.
And sadly, it was probably after the best game of his Jets career. And I'm not even kidding.
That's really not so.
No, I know. The bar was set so low. Let me just pull it up real quick.
Oh.
First off, a little history. Did you know? Fun fact: LeVeon Bell signed a 4-year, or if you round up, $53 million contract. With
Guarantees
with
are all that matter.
$27 million guaranteed and an $8 million signing bonus. So this man got over $35 million to suck.
Hey,
Let's see.
not my money. And I'm not a Jets fan, so.
Like the irony about how he got that contract to try to get like running backs guaranteed money, and he's the very reason why he's the prime example of why they shouldn't. But yeah, his last game, 13 carries for 60 yards. Like honestly, that might have been his best game as a Jet, like efficiency wise.
Were you proud of him?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I also, before hearing this, I heard a stat which I told you, but hasn't had a rush of 20 yards since 2017.
Yeah,
Fun
usually
fact.
not something you're.
No,
You're
and
trying to
I
do.
think somewhere in there, I think that might have been before he held out. So a year is gone in there. So I'm not trying to throw a deceiving number, but at the same time, even if you were to add a year to that, it would have been 2018 since he sat out a year, and that's still terrible. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, not something you like to see if you're.
That being said, who do you think he signs with, if anybody?
I think it's going to be a contender. I still think he's. I know you're not going to agree with me, but I still think he's okay.
No, he's fine. He can carry the load, and when he does, I feel like he could be an average guy doing it.
I've heard teams like the Chiefs being floated. I think the Chiefs, Bucks.
No, not as
They
somebody,
were.
as a Clyde Edwards dynasty owner. I do not want this. I think even like the Patriots, because I mean, right now,
Yeah, they
or
could probably use him.
I guess their guy, I can't remember his name, Harris.
And now the Pittsburgh could almost use him again.
Yeah,
but
Harris hasn't looked half bad, but even though like the Redskins, they could. Or, I'm sorry, the Washington football team, the Chargers. Oh my goodness, the Chargers could use him with Eckler gone.
Jets need a running back.
Yeah, the Jets literally need everything. It was ESPN. I saw in the power rankings, and it said weaknesses, and under it said everything.
Yeah, pretty much. There's really not a bright spot. All their
Yeah.
bright spots left.
That, yeah, like Le'Veon.
Well,
Yeah,
the defensive ones.
That
more
was
so,
tough. That like.
Well, they didn't say Joe Flacco?
No, they didn't say Joe Flacco. Here, I could pull it up.
I was joking.
Oh,
Joe Flacco's terrible.
I'm aware.
Well, you didn't sound like it.
I wasn't really paying attention. But
You look that up, and then we will start with our going over the games from last week.
Here it is. New York Jets 0-5. Biggest weakness, football. Then the bio. The Jets aren't good at anything, so it's hard to pinpoint just one weakness.
Oh,
and
somebody
the sad
was
part
loving
is,
that. Writing
the
that.
sad part is, I don't see a lie.
Well, I don't think anybody
They're
does.
100% correct. Anyways, we can continue.
Yeah, it's a tough scene over there in New York. Well,
Yeah. I guess I'm just looking here, and I wanted to look at some of the numbers for Le'Veon as a send-off. We have number 58 in rushing yards, number 56 in receiving yards, number 70 in receptions, number
What
66
number in your heart?
number 66 in touchdowns with 0. The Jets have to feel so stupid after that signing. But he's number 1 in my heart.
Signing him or Adam Gase?
Everything. They got to feel stupid about everything.
Well deserved. The first game we're going to be going over in our recap is going to be last Thursday night, which seems like forever ago. We're going to go over the Tampa-Chicago game. The Bears squeaked this one out 20-19. They're now 4-1 on the year. Tampa Bay has fallen to 3-2. I'm not going to call it Tampa Bay because I'm sick of that nickname and I don't think it's good.
No.
It's not even clever. Brandon, did you have any quick thoughts on this game off the bat? I mean, Tom Brady not looking overly great. 25 for 41, 253 and a touchdown.
It's good enough. It's fine. Like that's for a game where they put up 19, which it seems low for them. He still had a decent day. He didn't make any real mistakes. That being said, I'm very disappointed in Scotty Miller, as somebody who was forced to start him this week.
Upset with Scotty Miller.
He's getting dropped immediately Keyshawn Vaughn had a bad fumble, but that was 100% Brady's fault. He left him completely out to dry. Just gave him a short pass where he's got absolutely murdered.
Sounds like you're trying to protect your dynasty players.
No, like, yeah, because what I say, like in serious, is like he got absolutely murdered on that play. Like he didn't even have time to turn his head. The Tampa Bay, there wasn't much to learn other than Ronald Jones is clearly like light years ahead with the job. Even when Fournette comes back, he has not been doing anything close to what Ronald Jones is doing. And I'm gonna admit it. I was wrong about Ronald Jones.
Yeah, I think it's fair that he's
good.
I defended him as being pretty good,
and I hated on him. I said if you start behind Peyton Barber, how could you be good? Which I think is a very valid reasoning.
Well, it could just be coaching. Could be bad coaching. I mean, why is Frank Gore a starter in 2020?
Because who else do they got? They don't got.
Well, they had Le'Veon. I mean, they had him.
He was hurt. But yeah, a few interesting things. Cameron Brate and Rob Gronkowski both had pretty good days for tight ends, at least, especially in full PPR. That being said, I'd much rather have Brate than.
I mean, Gronk 3 for 52, Brate 5 for 44.
Well, I mean, like
6 targets apiece.
With 2 tight ends, like getting the bulk of the targets, because those 2 tied for the second most each. So those 2 getting the bulk amounts, they did well enough for what they got. That being said, I still really wouldn't be too thrilled about either one of them. Or David Montgomery, which, I mean, switching sides. He, again, proved that he is not very good at football. He did find the end zone, which helped out a lot.
He's proved that every week. Well, yeah, not the first 2.
He was surprisingly good in the receiving game, which is a big plus, which I didn't expect. But him on the ground, just running it, is abhorrent. Allen Robinson as well.
16 targets.
He has potential from, like from when Nick Foles started until the end of the season to easily be a top 5 receiver. Easily. Just because Nick Foles just targets him to no end. And it really, 10 catches for 19 yards, no touchdown. That's not efficient. That's not no touchdowns. And in a full PPR, that's still 19 points, which is fantastic. And I guess Jimmy Graham's another guy worth mentioning.
I think Jimmy Graham's potential starter every week.
I know he only had 3 catches for 33 yards, which isn't much. But that touchdown was nice.
That was really nice. Third most targets on the team.
True. It's just, I think Jimmy Graham's worth a spot, especially because the tight end position is usually pretty iffy. Allen Robinson looks great. David Montgomery, I still think if you can sell him high, to sell him high. Ronald Jones, very surprising. I'm still surprised in him. And, I don't want Scotty Miller.
Not overly impressed by Nick Foles, by the way.
No. He's fine because his one interception was not his fault. And that was in the red zone too, which that easily could have turned into 2 touchdowns or 243, 2 touchdowns and no interceptions.
That 47.4 QBR.
Yeah, that's rough. But that one pick was one, like, as somebody who loves Allen Robinson, that was 100% Allen Robinson's fault.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and move on to our next game here. The next game we have is going to be Panthers Falcons. A game nobody really asked to see. Probably nobody watched outside of red zone, I would imagine.
Yeah, Atlanta won't even show up for that.
Bridgewater, he's playing okay. 27 for 37 for 313, 2 touchdowns.
80 yards, and one of those touchdowns was not him.
Yeah, he usually gets a lot of yards after catch.
He hit DJ Moore.
He's got the Drew Brees thing going on.
Literally hit DJ Moore behind the line of scrimmage, and DJ Moore took it 80 yards to the house, which just disgusts me. But
Matt Ryan, another sad day. 21 for 37, 226, 1 interception, no touchdowns, 38.6 QBR for those keeping score at home. It was kind of all about the run game for both teams, I'd say, a little bit.
Todd Gurley has been fantastic.
14 for 121 and a touch.
Let me rephrase that. This game, Todd Gurley was fantastic because the week before he looked very bad. But, this week he looked fantastic. Anyways, continue, sorry.
No, he's been fine.
Like 2 games ago, it was the game where his over, I think, was 61 yards, and I bet under and won. That one, like, everyone on Twitter was just essentially being like, I only saw part of the game, but everyone on Twitter was like, this dude, he has nothing left in the tank. Like, everyone thought he was trash. Now, when Cole Beasley just got hurt. Oh,
yeah, I don't know how that offense is now throwing for 200 yards. I just don't get how the offense works. It makes no sense. Mike Davis, on the other hand, he does make sense. 16 for 89, no touchdowns this week. Was also very effective in the pass game. 9 for 60 with a touchdown on 10 targets. So that's something you definitely like to see. It makes you wonder a little bit about Christian McCaffrey, almost.
As a Christian McCaffrey owner, I don't want to think about it.
I mean, it just seems a lot more situational than – I'm not saying he's bad by any means. He's very good.
Oh, I think they're going to like use Mike Davis.
No, I'm just saying it just seems like it's a plug-and-play system.
Oh, I agree.
It's kind of like the Niners a little bit.
For all we know, Mike Davis could be really, really good.
I always thought Mike Davis was good.
But,
I
yeah.
never got why he didn't get any more chances after the Bears. I mean, I know he was on Seattle for a little while, but I've always felt he was a lot better than what people gave him credit for. Robbie Anderson, apparently the number one target on the team, like we've talked about. 8 receptions on 13 targets for 112 yards, so he was doing work even without the touchdown today.
Another drop.
Oh no. DJ Moore got the only touchdown today. The wide receivers, 4 for 93 and a touchdown on 5 targets. So I'd probably say better days even ahead for Robbie Anderson. I'd expect him to get in the end zone more than not.
Yeah, Mike Davis, too, 9 catches for 60 yards, which is just Bridgewater dumping it off when there's nothing left, obviously, which is his bread and butter. But it works out nicely. It works nicely for Mike Davis, at least. One thing that I did find very interesting is that they actually kind of started to throw Todd Gurley the ball, too. Up until this point, he's had 1 catch or fewer in every game. In this week, he had 5 targets with 4 catches, which has literally doubled his production on the season, which I find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't understand the Falcons. They're like an enigma. They have 227 passing yards, 166 rushing yards, which is almost 400 yards of offense, and they put up 16 points.
Yeah, but a lot of times quarterbacks put up more than 400 yards by themselves.
Yeah, well, I know, but in those games, they probably score 30 or 40. Whereas even I guess you look at the Carolina, they have about 430 yards and only 23 yards. It just seems like they keep just giving it up. Like, not giving up, I just don't get it. There's 1 turnover.
I would say at this point, the only guys you really want to own, I would obviously want Calvin Ridley. You're keeping Julio Jones. I would maybe put Russell Gage on my bench, and
drop Hayden Hurst.
As far as anything else goes, I wouldn't be too interested.
As somebody who was forced to start him this week, drop him. I will.
That's going to obviously, we're just kind of waiting for did the Falcons fire their coach this week?
Yes, they did.
Okay. So maybe that'll be something that gets them a little fired up. That'll be something to see.
Can't play much worse.
Kind of hope that it helps out because right now it is not looking good at all. Next game is actually going to be a game everybody's probably pretty excited and surprised about. We have the Raiders-Chiefs. Raiders win this one 40-32. I think the big takeaway here, in terms of football, is that the Raiders went for it on 4th down and actually converted instead of giving the ball back to the Chiefs. Which they would have had pretty good field position. So that was kind of fun to see.
Gruden had a funny quote on that. I can't remember what he said. He's like,
he had a bunch of funny quotes this week.
He's like, I'm not playing to not lose or something like that. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, he had a lot of good ones. He was kind of all over the place this week. Derek Carr actually looking good today. 22 for 31, 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was looking very good. Brandon Jacobs, also the story, 23 for 77. Josh Jacobs, excuse me, man. I miss Brandon Jacobs, but 23 for 77 and 2 touchdowns. So not a ton of, if you're a yards per carry guy, not a ton of yards on the ground there per carry, but definitely getting the work. You have any notes that you wanted to add? I will. I guess one last thing. Henry Ruggs, 2 for 118 and a touchdown. Nelson Aguilar, don't care about him, but he also
hauled in a long
touchdown.
About that. About Henry Ruggs. Like, we didn't draft Henry Ruggs to run slants. Like, my man. But no, there isn't much to add other than, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but the Raiders aren't bad. Like, this whole season, I'm like, they're not bad. Like, their wins, they beat the Panthers, who are surprisingly competent. Like, they're not terrible.
Yeah, but are you scared of the Raiders?
They beat the Saints pretty heavily, which their loss to the Patriots were bad. And then they only lost to the Bills by 7 at the end of the game on a game-winning drive. And then they beat the Chiefs without much. It only says 8, but they were just hold them off. Like, they could have won by a lot more.
Oh, so one last thing. Did forget to mention Darren Waller, 5 for 7, 48 yards and a touchdown as well.
He's fantastic.
King keeps slaying.
Yeah.
Anything you liked on there or the Chiefs side of the ball?
Clyde Edwards, for whatever reason, it's probably because they're behind. He doesn't get much work, which is what's been like week 1. He had like 25 carries. Like, I think the most he's had since then are like 10 to 15, and he had 10 this week. So, like, it's got to be disheartening. I mean, I know he had 8 targets, which helps, and his receiving game kind of saved him. With that being said, you're not going to do much of 10 carries as a first-round pick in most fantasy drafts. Josh Jacobs, again, his fantasy production has been fantastic, but it is worrisome. Josh Allen just threw a touchdown. Let's go.
This is not a Bills podcast.
Yeah, I know. Josh Jacobs, though, his efficiency hasn't been there. So, like, it worries me. Like, 77 yards and 2 touchdowns is really good. And he had 8 receiving yards, which I guess isn't good. But like, he had a good day fantasy-wise, but efficiency he didn't. So, like, what happens when those 23 carries go away?
They're not going to, so I wouldn't worry about it.
I don't know, because they had the lead for a big chunk of that.
Yeah, but in fairness, what are you going to do? Like, drop him? Like,
No.
You're going to keep playing him no matter what happens.
Maybe a sell high.
No, I disagree.
Because you can get a lot for him right now.
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to get any better running back.
I mean, I feel like you could trade him for like a Miles Sanders. I'd feel a lot more confident in Miles Sanders than him from here on out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably keep him if
I had him, I'd have no problems owning him. It's just worrisome to me. Anyways, we can move on. There's not much to say about that one.
Do we go to the receiving for Travis Kelce? 8 for 108 and a touchdown on 12 targets. So big day for him. Quiet day for Tyreek. 3 for 78 on 6 targets.
Yeah, that's a quiet day for him.
I mean, 3 catches isn't too much for him.
78's on track.
And nobody else, I guess, outside of Clyde Edwards. Only 3 people had 3 or more catches on the Chiefs. It was a very weird day offensively. They just didn't really look right all day.
This season, I don't know. Mahomes, he's been putting up good numbers, but he doesn't seem like, like the killer.
The offense hasn't looked that good.
Yeah, because like he's like always like he's leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, but he hasn't looked that this season. I mean, his numbers say that he's one of the best, but I don't know. A little disappointed thus far. It's only a quarter of the way through, but
yeah, I wouldn't panic if I was a Chiefs fan,
No.
but I'd certainly be a little, antennas raised, as they say. Next game, is going to be Cardinals Jets. I don't know who watched this game either. I mean, I don't know how you'd be watching a Jets game for any purpose outside of betting. Cardinals take this one 30-10. Once again, getting people back on the Cardinals hype train. I would be very nervous to be a Cardinals fan, just as a side note there, not having anything to do with fantasy. Kyler Murray did have himself a good day today, though. 27 for 37 for 380, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Really would have liked to see him get another passing score in there for all those yards, but he killed it on the ground again, 9 for 31 in the touchdown, maybe more so with the touchdown than the yardage, but he does a lot of running, very mobile, does get a lot of touchdowns, so definitely something you like to see. Something you don't like to see is Kenyon Drake getting all the work when Chase Edmonds looks like a better back. Kenyon Drake, 18 for 60 and a touchdown on the ground. Edmonds, 3 for 36 with a touchdown. As far as receivings, Chase Edmonds did lead that backfield with 5 receptions for 56 yards on 6 targets.
Christian Kirk had a good game too.
Drake had 1 target. So yeah, Christian Kirk, 5 for 78, like you were saying. Good game for him. Hopkins, 6 for 131 and a touchdown. Did a lot of that work on the last drive of the game, but obviously,
yeah, nice. That touch on he had was real nice too.
He's always doing work.
Jameson Crowder again.
Jets side of the ball, Crowder is actually good.
Yeah,
he's like the small name that does work every week.
He seems to he's like the Devonta Parker of last year, where like he's under everybody's radar, but he's actually getting it done. Like him and Robbie Anderson. Like I had Robbie Anderson on my bench in one of my leagues until last week, and I just clicked on him. I'm like, he's averaging 18 points a game. I was like, what? Is the thing because I just see Robbie Anderson, I wouldn't trust him. I'm like,
he's been playing really well. So is Jameson. I always made sure in all my previous dynasty leagues that I got him, and he was so late in every round. It was just like, ow.
Him too. It's like he seems like he's leaps and bounds the best guy. Like he has 116 yards. The next guy is 24, and this isn't the first time he's done that either.
I think it's safe to say that the only guys on this team that you care about is Crowder. At this point, I'm abandoning Herndon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Herndon, as somebody who's very high on him, is very disappointed. Jeff Smith, 11 targets for 3 catches. That's not that great either.
And then on the flip side, not a football-related note, but I really hope Sam Darnold goes somewhere else and has success because I feel bad.
Or better yet, just goes somewhere else with like a head coach who isn't an imbecile.
Yeah, it's really too bad what's been happening to him. I hope he gets it turned around because I think he actually is good and has a lot of potential. They've kind of been an absolute train wreck. So hopefully better days are ahead for him.
Train wreck inside a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Inside whatever.
Yeah, to quote the great Jake Tapper.
Yeah,
by great, I mean not that great.
Yeah, that's rough.
We will now move on to the Steelers-Eagles. Eagles, I hate to say, don't look terrible.
When they're locked in,
29-38, they lost.
When they're locked in, they look more than competent, and they could easily win that division if they play like this every week.
Yeah, well, that's what.
Granted, that's not saying much.
That's what we're always confused about, how they're so bad, because it always feels like they should be good.
Like, and the problem here too is they lost with an otherworldly game out of Miles Sanders, and I guess not otherworldly, but 11
They only
carries.
have 11 rushes.
Yeah, 80 yards though, 2 touchdowns. That's really good. He had 2 catches for 19 yards, which isn't great, but it's still good. And they still lost, which is not good. Fulgham, he might be worth a note. The guy they signed up the practice squads, it's 2 weeks in a row.
10 receptions on 13 targets.
And that's 2 weeks in a row with a touchdown too. So he's been good. And speaking of being good, Chase Claypool, he kind of busted on the scene this game. He was very nice. I think 4 total touchdowns. Yeah, there's not much to take home. I mean, the Pittsburgh had a weird game. The leading receiver was Bills great, Ray McLeod. Yeah, Chase Claypool, 4 touchdowns. Ray McLeod.
He had 3 receptions for 12 yards.
He rushed for 62 yards.
Oh,
62,
sorry.
the leading rusher.
Okay, sorry. I thought you
Yeah.
That's on 2 touches.
No, I know, but it was just a weird game. Like four touchdowns for one guy. Ray McLeod leading rushing.
I'm about to say Zach Ertz is a drop candidate, but I want to see another bad week.
He's not a drop, but he has been a bust.
I think if he gives another bad week next week, I think I'd drop him.
I'd say give him 2 more.
He's done nothing all year. Carson Wentz, though, 20 for 35, 258, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 5 times. And if you watch Eagles games, he probably wiggled out of probably another 10.
That duck, he does that duck.
He's really good at
sack.
ducking.
He's really good at that.
The Eagles have to block. I think that's their big problem.
It's probably because they can't hit him low.
Outside of
it just gets really low, so they can't hit him.
Outside of no wide receiver depth, they cannot block.
Yeah, no wide receiver depth.
So
no tight end depth. No playmaking.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. But
that injury to Goddard is killing them right now.
I will say Fulgham is a good ad though.
Yeah,
I don't know how much fab would you spend on him if you had $100.
I'd spend at least. It depends how desperate I am. But if you're desperate, 60 to 80.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
No,
At this point in the season, there's nobody else to get.
I would not do that. But
we're
week 5.
We're quarter of the way through. All the good options are probably gone.
Well, we're talking about a practice squad guy too.
Nice said if you're desperate. Well, he's the only guy doing anything. Oh, boy.
Ben Roethlisberger, though, good day for him. 239 on 27 for 34 passing, 3 touchdowns. Nice day for him. Like Brandon said, weird day kind of in general for the offense, scoring 38 points and only 1 being, 4 being to 1 guy. So
yeah,
definitely a strange game there. But I think there's going to be a bounce back for people as we go. Deontay Johnson, even though he's injured, I don't see this being a phase-out game for him. I think he'll still be a part of the offense when he comes back.
He was good prior to the concussion and prior to the back injury.
Because I know him and Claypool kind of play similar roles. But next game that we have, we're going to be moving on to the Rams versus the Washington football team. We're going to keep this one nice and short for you.
There's not much to talk about.
I'd say the big thing on the Washington side of the ball, Terry McLaurin's the only thing you want from the receiving game. I mean, Antonio Gibson.
I was holding my breath every time Alex Smith got hit.
Is a flex play probably. And to your point, I was going to say Alex Smith didn't get hurt, so that was
hard to watch. I respect him for going out there, and the fact that he's back out there is incredible. But at the same time, when every time I see him get hit, I'm like, please don't. Please don't.
Yeah, but how bad could he? I don't think he's that much of an injury risk. I think we just think he is.
I don't know. I just remember the video from a month ago of him walking out, getting cleared to play, and he could barely walk. I was like he had that weird limp. It's just I don't know.
No, I remember that too. I just don't know. I don't think they would have sent him out there if he couldn't play.
Oh, I agree, but I don't know. It's just something where I just don't want to watch him out there.
Yeah, the Rams are doing their constant thing of give 3 running backs 8 or more carries.
God, it's so frustrating. And this week Cam Akers was the good one.
You just have to essentially assume that. Well, but he didn't get the touchdown. You essentially just have to
flip a coin.
Put them in the flex and hope. I would never run them as an RB2. Cooper Kupp still getting involved, 5 for 66 on 8 targets. Robert Woods, 4 for 71 and a touch on 5 targets. Everett did his 4 for 90 on 4 targets as well. So they're kind of...
He had a really long play.
Those Woods and Kupp, really the only 2 you're probably starting, and the tight ends are really big, shrug.
This really shows how bad the Washington defense is as well. Everett's long was 40 yards. Woods' long was 56. Kupp's long was 49. And Cam Akers' long was 46. They're giving up big play after. That's 4 plays of 40 yards or longer. You can't do that.
Is Jared Goff is he a fantasy play?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In 12-team league?
Yeah. He had a rushing touchdown. He had 24 points last week. I mean, in the sense where, like, with bye weeks coming around, he should be owned by 100% of leagues.
Right now or in the future?
Right now.
Oh.
Because most teams should have 2 quarterbacks.
They should?
Or typically, or most, I'd say
COVID's kind of throwing a wrench into things.
Yeah, most teams should have 2. And he's, if not a starter, a fantastic backup.
All right. He does have a lot of upside on a weekly basis.
Yeah,
he also has a very low
too.
ceiling, but, kind of goes either way.
Well, he'll throw for 30 attempts easy every game. So even if you're doing that, you're going to get some points.
Next, the game we are going to talk about is going to be the Bengals versus Baltimore.
Goodness, what's there to talk about?
Not much to talk about. I would say Joe Mixon is worth a start every week.
Another disappointing game from Lamar Jackson.
Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins probably worth a flex spot.
Oh yeah. I'd
Lamar
say
continues to be overrated.
I'd say drop AJ Green, but I saw a video of him.
Well, he's hurt now,
and they lip synced him, or somebody was like reading the lips, and he said, "Trade me." He said, "Please trade me" to one of the staff members. So I'm holding on to him in hopes that he gets traded to a competent franchise. Other than that, I would have dropped him had I not seen that video because I was so sick and tired of his nonsense.
Yeah, but I don't know if you want to hold him for that. What's he done this year that would make me want to own him on a new team?
I don't know. Just it's the hope. But that being said, I think Lamar Jackson has not looked good at all. Here's the situation that he lives in. He had 170. I'm trying to find the rushing. 4. Doing math in my head.
He was 2 for 3 today rushing.
Yeah, he had 100. Your quarterback has 183 total yards, and your team puts up 27 points. So I don't know. He doesn't have to play well for them to win, but
19 for 37, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah, he was not good, and they still won by 24.
I think that,
which just shows how good the supporting cast is around him.
I'm not saying he's bad, but I think he's a greatly overrated player.
Right, put him on a team with an average running back system and running backs, and with an average defense, and he goes 8-8 at best.
Oh, I say even put him on Dallas, and I don't think. But yeah, Mark Ingram. I think the big takeaway from Baltimore side: 11 carries. The next guy,
J.K. Dobbins only got 1 this time, but he got 34 yards. This is another
Duvernay
backfield.
had 1 for 42.
This is another backfield I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are overly great. If I had the option of not playing them, I would do that.
And look at this rush defense. Mark Ingram long 20, Duvernay 42, Dobbins 34. I mean, they were giving a big run after big run too.
Yeah, it's not great. Poor Gus Edwards with the long of 6, the only one not to break.
Yeah.
But yeah, not much else to say there. Honestly, this is just a pretty straightforward game.
Joe Mixon again comes back to earth the week he's not playing me, but yeah, that 40-point game was obviously a colossal anomaly.
Well, I don't think anybody's arguing that.
Jacksonville Texans. I think it's about time for me to acknowledge that the Jacksonville Jaguars are not good at football.
Yeah, you really didn't want to give up on this one.
Well, it's because they won week 1, and then their next 2 losses were about 2 and 3. It's good teams. I'm they're still good. But then, yeah, they played this dumpster fire of a team. So, yeah, there's very few people on the Jacksonville Jaguars who are viable. I'd argue Gardner Minshew in some leagues is a decent start for the quarterback position. James Robinson, again, I think he's very underrated, although he didn't have a good game this week. His fumble when they ran him at the quarterback was honestly embarrassing. But I feel like that's also kind of an anomaly. He did get bailed out by 5 catches, which is 5 free points, which certainly helps. But I think the big thing, the big takeaway was that it seemed like the offense for Houston was finally clicking. Granted, the defense they were playing was terrible, but David Johnson seemed to get going on the ground, 17 for 96. Deshaun Watson did fine. He had a couple bad picks, but whatever. Brandon Cooks actually looked like he had a pulse out there.
Got a catch?
Yeah, he had 8 catches.
8 for 161 and a touchdown on 12 targets.
Will Fuller looked good too. Randall Cobb looks like a flex play, which I'm not saying you should pick him up, but he at least can.
If you're very desperate for a flex play.
Yeah,
he has a very
6 for 47. That's almost 11 points, which I know isn't great at all.
Pretty safe floor.
But yeah, it's fine. And David Johnson, they still haven't figured out how to use him in the receiving game, but this game it didn't seem to matter because he got those 97 yards efficiently. But yeah, I thought good game by the Texans.
Yeah,
especially for being a winless team. That was a good game for a winless team.
Yeah, it was a tough game for Jacksonville. I mean, you're still going to keep, Shenault I mean, he still put up a good game, but some of the other guys that we talk about, Cole had a tough game.
The wild part too is they got blown out with
by 0-14.
Yes, but they got blown out.
DJ Chark not looking good either.
No, he got hurt though. But Gardner Minshew, I mean, he threw for what? Almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean, when you do that and you still get blown out, that's just a bad defense.
I think both teams are just bad. Both 1-4.
Yeah, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns with a passer rating of 94. That's not bad at all. And you still get blown out. Again, James Robinson had a really costly fumble, which could have been a 14-point swing for all we know. But yeah, it was a bad day for the Jacksonville.
Speaking of bad day, we're going to transition over to San Francisco versus Miami. San Francisco lost this game 17-43 in what was a great day for...
Derrick Henry just got another touchdown.
Oh, no.
There goes $20.
It was a great day for Ryan Fitzpatrick. 20 for 28 passing, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm looking here to see if he 3 for 16 on the rushing. Never know what you're going to get out of Fitz for the rushing stats.
No.
Definitely a nice day for him. On the flip side, Jimmy Garoppolo got taken out. I don't want to say benched because it was clear his ankle was not good.
No.
He couldn't plant off his ankle and make good throws, so he looked terrible. 7 for 17, 77 yards, and 2 interceptions.
That and they're getting blown out anyway, so what's the point?
For a QBR of 1.4. Shanahan did say that he took him out as precautionary. It wasn't him getting benched necessarily. Beathard came in 9 for 18, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Mostert looked good, 11 for 90.
I'm getting on the free Mostert train. Because I think the most carries he's had this season was 12.
Well, Freeman compared to what? Next best guy had 4 carries.
Well, I know, but he has not had any attempts this season.
Well, when you're down 30 points, it's hard to...
I know, but consistently, throughout the game log, they don't give him any more than 15, which I think he's good enough to be a 20
Jet.
touch.
Man, imagine rolling Jet out today. What did he get you, 2 points?
Let me see. Yeah, he went 11. He went 15, 8, and 11, and he's averaging 7 yards a carry. But anyways, what about Jet?
He 2 receptions for 5 yards and 1 carry for 0 yards.
Who the hell's Jet?
Jerick McKinnon.
Oh, shoot.
Tough game for him today. Right when you thought Preston Williams was droppable, like I said last week, he comes
He's
back.
Hey, watch this.
4 for 106 and a touchdown on 5 targets.
Mike Gesicki comes storming back.
I think I said don't play Mike Gesicki too.
Devonta Park. I think Devonta got hurt in the game, if I recall.
But 2 for 50 and a touch.
That was a nice touchdown, too.
I just don't even know what to... Myles Gaskin, he's the big story of this week.
I don't know what to think about these Dolphins. When Fitzpatrick shows up to play,
That's the caveat.
They absolutely kill it.
When he shows up to play. Gaskin, 16 for 57 and a touchdown on the rushing, and on receiving side, 5 for 34.
He's the only guy who's worth owning running back-wise. Breida,
yes, I would agree.
And I know Jordan Howard wasn't there for the 2 carries for 1 yard this week, but he's the only guy you want to own. And I'd say
Fajetelum, I don't know who this guy is. He was he took the Jordan Howard role with 1 carry for 1
yard, no touchdown though. But at this point, only to hold him onto him as a handcuff, Jerick McKinnon seems to be a nobody.
I would hold him, but
I'd hold him, but it seems like they just kicked him to the side they just kicked him to the curb.
I still think he might be a flex. I just think this was a game that went so awry so quickly that they just were kind of out of it.
If you're somebody who was getting production out of him, though, I'd be very...
I'd
be sweating a little bit.
Going forward, are you nervous about Gesicki and Williams? Preston Williams. How do you feel about them? Are you putting them in the flex? Are you starting them?
There's not much to be worried about, really.
Well, I could show you stats to make you think otherwise.
No, I mean, you didn't pay anything for him. So if they don't pan out, it's whatever. I mean, Gesicki was, a 15-round pick? I mean, you're like, oh, shoot, he had a bad game here. It doesn't matter. He should be your backup anyways. So I'm definitely, if I have them, I'm definitely keeping a hold of them because I gave up nothing for them. Like Gesicki, even if he averages 8 points a game, he's still a steal for where he's getting drafted at. So I'd keep a hold of both of them still.
But would you be starting them? What's your confidence level? Do you like Devontae Parker a lot more than Preston Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
If healthy.
Yeah, those 3 are probably the only ones worth opening on the receiving end of the ball.
Gesicki, if you need a tight end, he's a good one.
On the 49ers side, Ayuk, Kittle, and anybody else you're keeping for receivers? I wanted to say Debo.
Maybe Debo. This is his first game back.
Kendrick Bourne still had a touchdown.
I'd say I'd keep Debo still.
Yeah. Not too much that you're wanting there,
Oh
but it is
my
good to see
goodness.
Mostert back.
The Bills fumbled on the kick return in the 10-yard line, and they lost it.
Imagine being a Bills fan.
What
right now.
on earth? There goes. Oh my goodness.
Imagine betting on this game at halftime.
I'm turning this off.
Wow.
I don't need that negativity anymore.
Sounds like they turned you off. Next game we have.
Absolute garbage.
Next game we have is going to be Colts versus the Browns. The Browns are actually turning into a fun team to watch. I still have no idea how I feel about the Colts. I don't really think they're good, but I do at the same time.
I think they're.
If I was playing them in the playoffs, I would not be worried, but I think they're good enough to go to the playoffs.
They're one of those teams where, like, the Browns and them are both one of those teams where you're like, you know. I was kind of like they're both 3-1. I'm like, these two are the two fraud 3-1 teams.
Browns take this one 32-23, by the way.
Yeah, and I thought they're both the fraud teams, but then Cleveland had no trouble with them. So now I'm starting to think that maybe Indianapolis is the fraud 3-win team, and the Cleveland's actually pretty good. Because
I think Cleveland still has some stuff to figure out, but I think
absolutely.
they're getting it figured out.
They're missing their best running back, or one of their two best running backs still.
I hate to even pretend to care because Kareem Hunt's such a good second option.
Oh, I agree.
He is a starting running back.
I agree, but there were 10 carries from the backups. So, like, they'd probably get more production if Chubb had those 10 carries, is what I'm saying. So they still would have been a little better. But
both quarterbacks about the same. Both 21 completions.
Super Phillip Rivers is not a throw.
Both had two interceptions.
The difference was that touchdown, or those 2 touchdowns.
And Baker threw for 4 more yards, and 4 more attempts. But yeah, Phillip Rivers doing a vintage Phillip Rivers. 2 interceptions on 243 yards and a loss. I guess the only non-vintage thing was, I'm sure he was driving late.
He didn't blow the.
He wasn't driving for the win though in the fourth quarter, which. A tradition unlike any other. They say the Masters, I say Phillip Rivers down.
I like how Cleveland keeps airing the ball out with the receivers.
Well, they should. They're good.
No, exactly. Like, it seems like the playbook is getting a little more creative. Like, Kareem Hunt got his receiving touchdown as the receiver again.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, their play calling is bizarre. Like, it's starting to seem like they realize that, like, hey, we have weapons. Let's use them. And they're actually fun to watch. They're putting up points. Like, What changed the tide for them against the Cowboys? A huge run by OBJ, who's a receiver, a big pass play from another receiver to another receiver. I mean, when they actually start having gutsy, strange calls, it's been working very, very well for them. So they're fun to watch.
It makes sense that you wouldn't be aggressive with that roster. Just to run over a couple of the stats, Kareem Hunt, 20 for 72.
Not great.
On the ground. Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. both get receiving 9 targets apiece. Landry was 4 for 88. Beckham 5 for 58. Austin Hooper 10 targets, team high. He went 5 for 57. No touchdowns for either of them, but like Brandon mentioned, 3 for 21 and a touchdown for Kareem Hunt.
Just imagine
through the air.
If David Njoku weren't hurt, he was getting those 10 targets.
He actually is back.
He's back. Oh, he is back.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He came back this week.
That's why they're winning by so much.
I think Austin Hooper might be.
He's worth a roster spot at this point.
Again.
Yeah. Any tight end that gets 10 targets is worth your time.
Well, he's not doing it though consistently. But Ty actually 10 targets this week, 6 for 69. Nice.
After we both said he was not worth a roster spot. Even at this point, that's 12 points.
In half point PPR, that's like 10 points.
Yeah, it wasn't an incredible game, but it was like his best yet.
I still don't think he's really worth holding on to.
Speaking about holding on to, what are your thoughts on Mo Alley Cox?
I started Mo Alley Cox this week, and this was the first week that he didn't do anything, so that was great.
I know how you feel with starting.
I've dropped Austin Hooper. I've dropped Hayden Hurst. I've dropped Jimmy Graham. I've dropped so many guys that I think I dropped Jimmy Graham. Maybe I still have. I don't know. I have him and I didn't play him. Whatever. I'm getting kind of salty with the tight end position.
Yeah, I could see that.
Every year I never get double digits at a single week, and just anyway.
Maybe you should draft a good one.
Yeah, nobody cares about my fantasy team.
The woes.
Taylor, kind of a rough day on the ground, 12 for 57 and a touch, kind of bailing you out there. Really didn't do much.
He was fine. He didn't
do much through the receiving. Well, I'm not saying he was bad. He just didn't do much. 2 for 17 on the receiving end. So I'm very confused. Trey Burton, 5 for 33. So on 6 targets. So there went Mo Alley Cox's work. Look what happens when he doesn't get the ball. They lose
the game.
Yeah. So coincidence? I think
they're
not.
winless when Mo Alley Cox has 0 catches.
Yeah. So when he's not over 1 target, but I don't know what to think about the Colts. I think their offense is going to look better going forward, but man, that's
I think they're the pinnacle of slightly above average.
Yeah, they have good offensive line and a decent defense. So I think the Browns are actually getting better.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying that because of the 2 good weeks. I just think they're kind of figuring it out. They had a new coach.
Again,
no off
They're
season.
actually utilizing their good players
Yeah,
in unconventional ways that's working, which
So,
is interesting to watch.
Jarvis might actually be keepable again. I think last week I was saying he wasn't.
I think he caught the ball from OBJ too, if I recall. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I don't
him.
know. I would need to see that. I forgot to check the passing stats, but
It was only 18 yards, but like either way, it seems like good things are happening when they're airing the ball out and having these bizarre plays, having running backs line up as receivers and stuff like that.
exactly. Next game we have Giants versus the Cowboys. The Giants are terrible, and the Cowboys are terrible. That's those are my big takeaways. Dallas being 2-3 is kind of a joke because they haven't beat a single good team.
No.
I mean, they beat the winless Falcons and they've beat the winless Giants, both in a shootout.
And to be honest, if you don't beat the Giants by 50 points, that's a loss in my book. If you can barely beat the Giants, just take the win.
This division's so embarrassing. The Giants could still win the division.
It's another game where with Daniel Jones having more turnovers than touchdowns.
Well, not through the air. 20 for 33 for 222 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions.
He fumbled.
So not a great day for him. Not really a great day for anybody. Devontae Freeman, if you were actually ballsy enough to start him, 17 for 60 and a touch on the ground.
He also
2 for 27 through the air. So not a bad day for him.
Evan Ingram with a rushing touchdown. Something I never thought I'd say.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
He was useless in the pass game, so he really bailed people out. CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, especially CeeDee Lamb, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah, the 11
Still
targets,
no touchdown. That man can't get a touchdown.
8 for 124 on 11 targets. Gallup 4 for 73 on 4 targets. With 2 of those, most of his yardage came on 2 plays
from
on back-to-back reviews from Andy Dalton there.
Red Rifle's a fine replacement too, it seems.
It is weird though seeing Cooper's targets down to 4. He's usually double-digit targets every week. We'll have to see if that's a trend or if that's something that was just an anomaly for 1 week. I am interested to see, as you just mentioned, how Andy Dalton looks. Believe it or not, I don't think Andy Dalton is that bad.
No.
I think this year is proving for Joe Burrow that Andy Dalton actually had to deal with a lot more
garbage than he should have.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Andy Dalton's actually a fine replacement. If that defense can do anything, I think there's a strong possibility he can win games and they can do stuff with him. So
granted, that defense won't be able to do anything, at least as these 5 games have shown.
Yeah, the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs somehow, and I'm just going to be really mad about it because they don't deserve to.
It doesn't matter. Just another first-round exit.
Slayton, though, we didn't mention Slayton, 8 for 129 on 11 targets. So he seems to still be worth a flex if you're in a little bit of a pinch. They're just not going to have a lot of touchdown upside, unfortunately. Is probably what I would say from that. Anything that else you'd like to add to that?
No, just Danny Jones. They need a new quarterback.
That they do. Them and the Jets both racing towards
Trevor Lawrence.
They won't get a new quarterback either way. But next game we have is going to be Vikings Seahawks. So we had the battle of the 5-0 versus the 1-4, or I guess it would have been the 1-3 versus the 4-0.
After the first 2 weeks, I never thought I'd say this. The Vikings are so much better than 1-4. They are so much better.
That's why I
was
confused as a Packer fan. The Vikings have made the playoffs the last 2 years and have won a game each year.
They're so much better than they. Lose to the Seahawks by 1, and the Giants have the same. No, they have one less win. Excuse me. The Washington football team has the same amount of wins.
It was not a lot of passing yards for either quarterback. Cousins 27 for 39, 249 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Russell Wilson, 20 for 32, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception, which is very rare for him. I believe that's his first of the season. So I believe Aaron Rodgers.
Second.
Is it really the second?
Yeah, 2 games in a row.
Okay, that's my bad.
Chris Carson's still too. When he gets the ball, he's so good.
It
surprises me every time I see it, but he's probably the most underrated running back in the league. 8
for 52 and a touch.
And then his receiving, 6 for 26, which I know wasn't many yards, but they got him the ball 6 times.
Yeah, he's very good.
DK Metcalf again with a 39-yard touchdown.
DK Metcalf is
every
a beast.
week. I'm like, he's not doing it again, and he does it again, and it's mind blowing.
As a Tyler Lockett owner in Dynasty, it's unfortunate that he seems to have, and I know Lockett had like a 40-point game 2 weeks ago.
I remember you projected him top 5 receiver this year.
Well, I think I just missed on which one.
Yeah, it looks like Metcalf's on pace for, I believe it was 1,600 yards and 16 touchdowns.
Yeah,
which is historic.
If you switch, I mean, I guess the receiver or the position, right? Just not the which one it would be on that team. But
Thielen had a very good game too. I own him in full PPR, and that absolutely saved me.
Yeah, Thielen.
Justin Jefferson kind of fell back to earth
13 targets.
Too. He had a couple of good games in a row. Even Alexander Madison, he showed up and killed it for what he got.
Yeah.
20 carries for 112. As we said at the beginning of the season, him and Latavius Murray are easily the 2 best backups.
No. Kareem Hunt's better.
Oh, okay. I mean, like handcuffs. Like
Tony Pollard's not bad.
He's not 20 carries for 112 yards good.
Yeah, I agree. Madison is very good.
He's really good.
Jet's a pretty good backup too.
We shut up about Jet. And it was weird because like this offseason when Dalvin was threatening to hold out, I know like this is no disrespect to Dalvin Cook, but I almost thought like, why would you pay him? You have Alexander Madison, who like statistically last year was a monster too. But I'm not saying Cook shouldn't have been paid, but it was a little surprising.
They ran 41 times.
And it worked.
That's a lot.
And they still lost though, which is the...
Yeah, I think there are better days ahead for the Vikings. It's going to be kind of difficult with them being in the same division as Green Bay and
Detroit.
I mean, as much as I roll my eyes at 4-1 Bears, I mean they're still 4-1.
Like 1-4 Vikings, I have so much more faith in than 4-1 Bears.
I do too.
That's why when I say like 1-4, they're so good for 1-4 because like even like this week and last week, I can't remember who they played last week. I think they beat them. Like the past 3 weeks, they've played good teams and lost to 2 of them at least, which like barely 26-27 against arguably the best team in the league. Like when they want to, they could show up.
No, they definitely can. I think the Vikings are going to bounce back a little bit.
Again, at 1-4, I mean, anything's a bounce back. But yeah, I agree.
It's going to be very hard though because they're 3 games down in the division. And I know that there's an extra playoff spot, but it's still going to be difficult.
I think at best they might be able to crawl out to like 8-8.
I would need to look at the schedule, but yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. I think the talent's too good. I mean, as much as I make fun of Kirk Cousins, he's not a
has
bum.
like other than like week 1 or like 1 week in the first 3, I can't remember which one it was. We had like 80 yards. He hasn't played poorly.
Speaking of playing poorly, I probably shouldn't do that.
The Chargers
versus the Saints. Chargers lose this one, and I put lose in parentheses.
Tried their damnedest to lose that
quotes.
one.
The Chargers should have won this game. 27-30, they lost to the Saints.
Put $20 on it when the money line was plus 300. Then they missed the PAT
Brandon
and
I
they hit the pole.
Brandon and I both bet on the straight money line for this
It literally
game.
lost me like $80.
Missed the extra point, like you said.
I don't even remember the kicker's name, but he had some stupid nickname.
It was money something.
Yeah, something money.
Remember.
And he calls himself something money to hit the pole and miss a PAT. So
Justin Herbert, though, 20 for 34, 264, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And as somebody who watched every snap of this game, I can tell you that he was under constant pressure.
yeah.
And I don't know what they are trying to prove with the running game, but it is just not working.
Well, finally, in the second half, they realized, hey, Josh Kelly sucks. Let's give the ball to Justin
11
Jackson.
for 29, and it was the offensive line is not good. There were moments where they were getting hit 3 yards behind the line.
Good things started happening once they gave Justin Jackson the ball.
Yeah, 15 for 71 is looking a lot better. When
they were giving Josh Kelly the ball, they were literally burning down.
As you would do, though. He did have a 36 long for a run, so if you subtract that, I mean, your yards per carry is horrendous.
I know, but it's the thing like Joshua Kelly. You essentially use Joshua Kelly. It seems like, yeah, you know what?
I like that you're calling him Joshua, not Josh.
Yeah, let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it down. We don't want that down anyways, because that's essentially like oh yeah, you know what? 1st and 10. Why not have it? Why not have a 2nd and 9?
That makes what Herbert did more impressive because he kept having like. They were just throwing him out there with like, oh, hey, we ran 2 plays for 10 or no
0 yards.
Hey, it's pass on 3rd and 10.
The amount of 3rd and 10s I saw last night, and asked somebody who had money on this, and they're up 20-3, so I was feeling real good at the half. That run
in
game
hindsight, that was a good
33.
That would have been a good game to bet.
32 carries, 111 yards. Like, come on. That was tough.
With the 36-yard long.
That was tough. Yeah, it was a tough watch. Mike Williams,
though.
Yeah, he was like, hey, I'm going to remember how to play football again. And then Keenan Allen.
5 for 109 on 2 touchdowns on 8 targets.
He had that big touchdown, but still a good game.
64.
Keenan Allen,
yard
he started real hot, and then he's like, I'm going to pull my hamstring.
That was a bummer.
Had he
'cause
not pulled that hamstring, I can guarantee I would have won that bet.
I think they do win if he was playing.
It was on the first drive, too.
I was playing against him in fantasy, and I was winning.
Even Justin Jackson had 23 yards receiving to Joshua Kelly's 9.
Yeah, Josh Kelly, I have not been impressed by what I've seen of him.
No, and I want to see less of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly just kind of getting to the point.
That's what kind of sucks for the Chargers.
It's just getting embarrassing.
They've lost 2 in overtime now out of the last 3 weeks. The Chiefs being the other team. They barely lost last week. And, I mean, they're doing this without Austin Eckler, and for this game it was without Keenan Allen.
63 attempts for 203 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. That's got to be the lowest in the league.
Yeah, it was not great. The Saints defense did look pretty good, the front line. Brees, 33 for 47, 325, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I officially would like to diss Drew Brees. And I would like to say that I don't think he is a very good quarterback right now.
No.
All the disrespect included. You can quote me on the disrespect. And everything is a dump off. And you know, you can't blame him for this stuff necessarily, but
still gonna.
He didn't throw one difficult pass last night. Like every pass that it looked, you know, he didn't fit any tight windows. There were no good timing throws. It was just like, guy ran a 3-yard, you know, 8-yard out and had 2 steps.
Yeah.
Even his long pass, he threw more than 20 yards, which was incredible. The guy had like 8 steps.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened.
I literally felt like just a dagger straight to my heart.
And yeah, Justin Herbert did the same thing, but he also threw downfield all game. So I don't want to hear it.
And I guess while we're being disrespectful, full offense to Taysom Hill, because he just sucks ass at football.
I am so upset he got that rushing touchdown.
Yeah, the defense is like, let's give it to him. Like we feel bad.
He ran into a defender who was turned
I honestly
around
feel like
in the end zone.
I feel like the defender in the end zone was just like, yeah, you know what? He's so bad at football. Let's just give him this.
Well, all he does is throw. So or run. So
yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't. The only time he throws is when they're at like the 50-yard line. They're not going to have him throwing touch passes within the the.
And the fact that people are buying this stuff is killing me. Because everyone's like, oh, dude, like he did it. He did it. Look at that. He's so good. No, he's not. And, I know I said this earlier with Joshua Kelly, where they're like, let's just burn it down. No, that's Taysom Hill. 2 targets for no catches, 2 burn downs there. 3 carries for 13 yards, and that was a bogus 9-yard touchdown, which I didn't count. Put him in quarterback. One attempt. Nope. Completion. They're just like, hey, let's get rid of it down. I guess what Taysom.
They couldn't really do much for the run game. I mean, both teams couldn't run. Kamara 11 for 45, Murray 8 for 34.
That's better than Josh Kelly.
It was a pretty tough game as far as the run goes. Kamara was 8 for 74 on the passing, which is the classic him thing.
That's all Drew Brees does is just dump it off to the running back.
And it's obnoxious to watch.
And I know Drew Brees was good in his day, but it just sucks to watch.
Yeah,
Sanders.
We made fun of Peyton his last year. We can do this to Brees.
And Emmanuel Sanders, he
looked very good.
The one game I have money against New Orleans, he's just like, yeah, I'm going to remember how to play football.
Well, Michael Thomas was out. But
that's half the reason I put the bet.
He looked very good, though. He was half the reason we're making fun of Drew Brees, because he was open everywhere.
He's just like, yeah, it's the ultimate Madden offense. Like, the running back, 10 targets. The best receiver on the field, 14 targets. Like, it seems like he just spams the best players, and then they usually run the ball a lot more, too.
Which you'd like to do, but Jared Cook, 2 for 52 and a touchdown. The touchdown was the aforementioned blown coverage.
He's, again, one of those guys where every time he gets a big play, I'm like, he's not going to do it again, and he always does it.
Well, this is the one. I believe he was the guy who was legitimately wide open.
Yeah, he was the guy who wasn't even covered.
He got
it's just consistent.
He got a very, 41-yard touchdown on essentially an open route. So, he's good, though. I mean, he's doing that stuff, so can't really hate on him for that.
The wild part about, if you think of it this way, the wild part about Herbert is he was out his best receiver and out his arguably second best receiver, the running back, and he still threw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, this dude's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I think he is gonna be pretty good too.
Really good. Like, and as somebody who spent a high draft pick in Dynasty on Joe Burrow, Herbert, I'm not saying he's going to, but he easily could be better.
I don't think, just for the record, I could not have been. The amount of times the camera flashed to Malcolm Jenkins last night was just embarrassing.
And for what?
I don't even know. It was always on him, and they would always say something about him. Anyway,
when they're after they gave up 20 points at half, I'm like, yeah, can we not?
Yeah, it was not great. Next, we're going to flash to
42 to 16.
We're going to flash to the Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee, very fresh. See, this is even more of a diss to the Bills because they haven't even played in 2 weeks because of the COVID stuff.
They weren't ready.
I think it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, Bills lose this one 16-42.
No, they played. They're 4-1 the 5 games. Tennessee didn't play. They were fresh.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh.
It's been 2 weeks since they didn't play. They played a Sunday, I think, and then they didn't play the next Sunday or the next Sunday, and they played Tuesday.
AJ Green tore them to pieces. Or AJ Brown.
AJ Brown finally back tonight. 7 for 82, 1 touchdown on 9 targets. Tannehill, pretty good game from him. 21 for 28, 195 for the yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. We do have a 2 touchdown score as well. Johnny Smith had himself a game.
Derrick Henry had 2 touchdowns, too.
You started him. You love to see that. Derrick Henry.
Tannehill had a rushing touchdown.
Derrick Henry, 19 for 57, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, Tannehill, 4 for 42 and a touch. So if you started Tannehill, you started Henry, you started Johnny Smith, A.J. Brown, you had a fun night and probably came back.
No,
a couple people probably had a nice come-from-behind victory. Josh Allen, not a horrendous game, 26 for 41. 263, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
And one of those interceptions, I know I'm going to be
4 for 18 on the
apologetic
ground.
Bills fan, was 100% not his fault. Nailed the dude straight in the chest piece. It just shot straight in the air, and some other guy caught it. Like that, it was such bogus.
You know, I said not that bad of a game. That's a pretty bad game. Matt Barkley even got 5 snaps.
260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and should be 1 interception.
Hurt? Why did Matt Barkley get?
Well, they're down by 35, and there's probably 2 minutes left.
Matt Barkley is still in the league?
Yeah, I know.
How old is he?
Devin Singletary, he's honestly been one of the biggest disappointments this season.
How old do you think Matt Barkley is?
Probably 34.
He's 30.
Oh, good for him.
I would never have guessed he was 30. I thought he was at least 35.
But Devin Singletary just can't seem to get anything going. Granted, he's at 4.3 yard. What?
I was playing against somebody who had Singletary, and I was up 8.5 points. I was very nervous. I don't think he did it.
I think they also need to get Cole Beasley involved a little more. He had 0 targets in the first half and ended the game with 53 yards on 6 for 6 on targets. But yeah, Stephon Diggs got his, but it was just
TJ Yeldon, always disrespected, 752.
He had 134-yard carry, but yeah, it's just disgusting. I guess he had a receiving touchdown.
Stephon Diggs, 10 for 106 on 16 targets.
Yeah, he's
that's
nice.
What you like to see.
Gabriel Davis might be worth a roster spot at this point. I think that's a couple games in a row now where he's
as a flex.
Well, yeah, a roster spot. I'm not saying you should start.
Yeldon, 1 for 22 and a touch through the pass game too.
I guess no, he shouldn't. I got him confused with somebody else.
Is Dawson Knox worth owning?
No, Dawson Knox is terrible.
Oh.
He had another horrible drop. He had 15 yards. Why are you asking me this? 15 yards and a really bad drop. That is Dawson Knox.
You're going to have to remind me. I did not look this up. Did John Brown play tonight or is he hurt?
He was hurt, I believe.
Okay. That's what I figured. But
it's the reason why they lost.
Yikes. And the Buffalo Bills get to go play the Chiefs next Monday.
Yeah, Dawson Knox, 5 catches for 78 yards in this season, and you're out here asking me if he should be on a roster.
Seeing how much of a Bills homer you were.
No.
I think we're going to have an
ass at football.
What are you expecting to happen next week? Do the Bills stand a chance of beating the Chiefs?
Oh, absolutely they stand a chance.
So where would your money be?
Still, it's on the Bills. It's on the Bills.
You like losing money?
I'm up.
It'll be 2 weeks in a row you're losing on the Bills?
I'm up $150 these past couple weeks.
You say that like you're some kind of...
Well, the fact that I'm not out here putting $1,000 on each bet. I'm not putting much on them. So I've probably hit 8 of the last 12.
The Bills did lose 2 fumble, or it looks like they lost 1 fumble.
No, what killed the Bills is the turnovers. The first turnover was on the first play of the game, so it was in the 10-yard line. Their fumble on the kickoff return was within the 10-yard line too. So there's and they scored on both of those. So there's 14 free points. So even if it takes away the opportunity, let's say the Bills had 0 opportunity to score those drives, which they didn't if they didn't turn it over. But that'd be 28-16 with 2 more possessions.
Their offense, though,
had those 2 plays not gone that way, they could have easily stood a chance. But
second, third, and fourth quarter, they scored a combined 9 points.
Oh, I know. It's just when they turn the ball, not all turnovers are equal. But when they turned the ball over, they did it in the two worst ways
I
possible.
want to go on the record and say that I still do not trust the Bills.
That's okay. I
But
trust them.
not that anybody cares. But
Yeah, the 4-1 Bills, America's team.
I guess it's probably.
I guess AJ Brown, he was good, and he did it. He had 82 yards on 7 catches, which usually he's like 82 yards, 2 catches. Or at least last year he was because he hasn't played this season. But he did better than I expected him to.
And with that is going to wrap up our games of the week. Typically, we would go ahead and run over our pickups of the week, just given that it's Tuesday night and the waivers run in a couple hours. I just don't think it's even worth anybody's time at this point because you're not going to hear it by the time. I mean, waivers will have run by the time you hear this. So, as long as it's on Tuesday, our podcast, we're just going to go ahead and skip it. If it's on a Monday, we'll go over it. Any last second items you'd like to add, Boo?
No, not really. Just a tough week for the Bills. Tough week for the fantasy team, or one of them. I wanted my 3 other leagues, but
all right. We're just gonna wrap this up nice and clean tonight. If you're looking for any of the links for us, you can just find those in the description of the video, or
you can also find it
on
Suit Yourself Pod on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. FinishFirstMedia.com. Finish FIRST media.com, and you could also find our YouTube channel at Suit Yourself Pod or Finish First Media.
I would like to note that we have not updated the website in a couple weeks now, so we need to get on that.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
probably need to get some kind of social media presence. Probably need to start doing other things as well, but work in progress, right? Everybody's busy, so
leave a like on that video if you can.
Yeah, something
we really
like that.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us for the Week 5 recap. We will be back tomorrow with a Week 6 preview, including everyone's least favorite segment of Brandon giving us the lines, and we guessed the lines.
We might even make a spreadsheet this time. We might.
Probably not, but one can dream. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Have yourself a great evening, morning, or afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.